Starting now. Yes, the esteemed speaker for today is Dr. Annapurna Yemanaru. She is going to share her experiences in homeopathic management of neurodevelopmental disorders. To tell you a bit about her, she is MD in homeopathy from Mumbai, a lecturer and homeopathic consultant at NIEPID Secunderabad, Vice President, Telangana Iconic Women Homeopaths of Bharat, Joint Secretary, Homeopathic Medical Association of Telangana, Executive Committee Member, IIHP Greater Hyderabad Chapter. She is also the founder of Homeopathic Studio, Hyderabad. She is also a kids yoga trainer, a yoga exponent, and a trainer. She has 15 years of experience in managing cases of neurodevelopmental disorders in children, amongst many other ailments, and she has also authored many articles and papers in various homeopathic journals. She has been a speaker on DD Yadadri and many state and national level seminars and webinars, and a resource person for national level CREs. So over to you, Dr. Annapurna. We are eager to listen from you. Yes, please begin.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alka, for the introduction. So let us begin this evening. First of all, I would like to thank the entire IWHB team for organizing these beautiful sessions and a series on autism. And I'm sure that one and who is participating and also who are viewing, everybody is being benefited equally from this webinars. So to begin with, I would just like to, First of all, I would just like to pay my gratitudes, sincere gratitudes from the bottom of my heart to Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, to my institutes, SNJB Homeopathic Medical College Chandwad and ML Dhawale Memorial Homeopathic Institute Palghar. And the current institute in which I am working, NIPID, Secunderabad. So this is just a glimpse of our OPD at NIPID Secunderabad, which is a purely homeopathic OPD. So moving on with this brief thing, I would like to speak about the aspects of autism which we have covered till date. So just palpating these things, what is ASD? We have seen ASD versus virtual ASD, causes we have seen, clinical features we have covered, diagnosis we have covered, different tools and scales we have seen already, importance of early diagnosis, early intervention in ASD. From the homeopathic aspect, we have covered the miasmatic approach, constitutional approach, importance of mother's personality interconnecting the ASD child. We have also covered ASD in adulthood, its diagnosis and homeopathic approach. We have covered ancillary measures like yoga therapy for ASD, pack flower therapy for ASD, anthroposophic view of ASD, and we have also covered measuring the effectiveness of our treatment with ethics so that we know the prognosis of our case and we also know how far we have reached in treatment of ASD and ASD inclusion and sensitivity towards ASD in society. So we have also, apart from this, we have covered learning disability also. So we already have a huge overview of the entire spectrum of autism, right? So moving on from this, what I thought that if we can go a little bit into the practical aspects with little bit of cases and how homeopathy acts, what is the impact of homeopathic medicines, it would be an add-on to this series of sessions. So from this webinar, I would like to cover ASD and gut dysbiosis, general approach in NDDs, that is neurodevelopmental disorders. Then I would like to present a few cases of ID, ADHD, epilepsy, and homeopathic approach in NDDs, including ASD. So this I would like to do it over 2 sessions, today and tomorrow. So as this topic was remaining, I thought we will just touch and go ASD and gut dysbiosis. So gut dysbiosis is nothing but it is a very upcoming and very prominent research which is happening and which says that there is some microbiome, okay, so which is there in the gut of every person, which is known as the normal microbiome or the healthy gut bacteria. So when the gut bacteria are healthy, it also says that the person is healthy and disease free. So but sometimes because of different reasons, there could be some changes in the human gut microbiota, and these changes they can cause certain other diseases, right? Through the gut-lung axis, gut-brain axis, or gut-skin axis. For example, we see people who eat outside food often. Okay, they'll go and eat chaat or roadside food. So usually we see that they are more prone to get skin diseases. I have seen this relation in people having psoriasis or eczema, and if we trace back the cause, we see that there is a lot of eating outside happening. So in such cases, I have seen that drugs like anti-improved have a lovely effect on these cases, right? So that is nothing but the gut-skin axis. Similarly, the gut-brain axis, which is very important, where like cases like neurodegenerative disorders, neurodevelopmental disorders, autism, psychiatric disorders, all these things are impacted because of the relation or the what would call relation between the gut microbiome and the brain. There is one more axis, which is the gut-lung axis. Again, the microbiome also impacts the lung, and it can cause diseases like or exacerbate the diseases like asthma, obstructive pulmonary diseases, or lung cancer. Metabolism, anyways, we know there is a lot of research which has happened in all these areas, and they have found out certain microbiome, particular microbiome which is present in cases of autism. So if there is a imbalance, like some which are normally present are present in the lower concentration, which should not have been present are present in the higher concentration, this causes a dysbiosis, resulting in the changes of autism. So if we see in this slide, it says there is increased proteobacteria and bacteroids and decreased firmicutes and actinobacteria. So these specific microbiome is imbalanced, and which is causing the dysbiosis or altered gut microbiome. These altered gut microbiome, they produce certain toxins or certain metabolites or enzymes which mimic our neurotransmitters. Okay, and these, because of the increased inflammation due to pro-inflammatory cytokines in the intestinal wall, these cross the intestinal barrier, and then they cross the blood-brain barrier, and they cause symptoms like which mimic autism or which can exacerbate the symptoms of autism itself. What more? So it is a bidirectional thing. So the brain through the autonomic nervous system can affect the gut microbiome, or the gut microbiome through the endocrine and neurocrine pathways can affect the brain. So it is both sides. It is not only the brain or the gut microbiome which is responsible. So there is an abundance of proteobacteria. These research papers, when we go through different research papers, we can see that certain bacteria are in abundance or certain bacteria are less in number. So there is an abundance of proteobacteria, lactobacillus, bacteroids, D-sulfovibrio clostridium. There is a scarcity of bifidobacterium, glottia, dialister, prevotella, veillonella, and turicibacter. This means that the metabolites produced by the gut bacteria affect the neural processes and neurotransmitters once they cross the blood-brain barrier. This is what is the impact. So based on their levels, producing autism-like symptoms. Gut dysbiosis in autistic children causes focal inflammation in the intestinal wall, which in turn causes a leaky gut, causing overactivation of the immune system and releasing inflammatory cytokines. Gut microbiomes can synthesize neurotransmitters. Directly, they can synthesize neurotransmitters, which can stimulate or inhibit the CNS via the vagus nerve. For example, certain microbiota are known to secrete something like GABA and serotonin. So this directly has an impact on the developing brain. And this is the basis of what is the upcoming thing which is coming called as fecal implantation. So that is the new research which is based on gut microbiome. This slide shows the bidirectional mechanism of gut microbiota and brain network. So if we see here, certain psychological behavioral disorders, cognitive deficit, autism, or illness. So what happens in this? Suppose the child is not having proper food, because he is already a picky eater. So he is not able to have all the food, which is a strong reason for gut dysbiosis. Another cause could be these children have a poor immune system, which leads to recurrent infections and recurrent and more prolonged intake of antibiotics or any other drugs, which is another second reason for gut dysbiosis. Third reason could be, suppose this child was born through a cesarean section. Okay, so the normal vaginal gut microbiota, which has to pass on to the child, it does not pass, and hence the child is already having a dysbiotic gut. So these are the three main reasons in which the brain could cause the could be affected by the gut dysbiosis in autistic children. So when this is happening, it acts through the vagus nerve or the HPA axis or the neuroendocrine system or neuroimmune systems. Okay, and it affects the brain. Similarly, what happens is, suppose the gut microbiome is already altered in the first place because of outside food or because of many drugs or whatever, it can impact the brain in the other way around this thing. So either the brain is affected first or the gut is affected first. So with this brief discussion on gut-brain axis, we would move on. And next, I would like to touch upon the general approach in neurodevelopmental disorders. So why this is important? Because whenever a patient, because NIPID, I would like to talk a brief about NIPID also a minute, because it is a huge institute with the umbrella of all the therapies, diagnostic facilities or medical facilities, everything under a single umbrella. So it is a huge institute wherein the patient first walks in because he has been observed by a parent or he is sent by some primary health provider or school people. Then the child is brought to the center where he is being evaluated by pediatric neurologist or a psychiatrist. Different kinds of tests the child will undergo. Then finally he is evaluated by a clinical psychologist, where different tests which we have already seen, these tests are done on the child, and then a proper establishment of the diagnosis happens. So we know the exact nomenclature and the magnitude of the disease. From this, then the child comes to us and to the therapist. So where we have to plan a proper interventional modality. So different modalities we have already seen. So this is the sequence in which the child being first observed, from there to planning of proper interventional modalities. Till now, is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we'll move further. So this is about the integrated. So why integrated and multi? This is another very important aspect, because whenever a patient of autism or ID or any other neurodevelopmental disorder comes to the clinic, we first have to understand that the child has come to us. It does not mean that, because I have seen many homeopaths who only say if you are taking homeopathy, there is no need of any therapy. But I would say, I look at it this way: because of homeopathic medicines, the capability of the child is being increased. And when we are simultaneously giving him therapies or any other interventions, it increases the learning of the child. So both things have to happen hand in hand. So that's why homeopathy is a part of the integrated and multimodal approach to NDDs. So it is this way, like it is pharmacological treatment and homeopathic treatment, or both. And we have these things in common to either of it. So diet, PTOT, all these are integral part of our management approach. And I would also say the patients can also opt for homeopathy along with conventional treatment, because we are seeing many cases where the patient does very well when he is on both the medicines. So just a touch and go on different therapies, behavior modification, which includes the therapies that involve targeting specific behavior patterns to be changed through encouraging. So we say positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, and we try to change a particular behavior. So what are the benefits of this? It helps to reinforce the changes in the behavior of the child in a large way. Yes, it does happen. What are the limitations? The underlying causes of the NDD remain unmodified. So this is where the difference between homeopathy and behavior modification. Okay. Pharmacological approach, we very well know about this. The treatment involves targeting specific symptoms. Suppose a child has epilepsy or motor disorders or hyperactivity. Parents would generally go to allopathy first. Then if they want, they will try it for a couple of months. Then they might see some side effects, or they might see that there is no impact of medicines. So they come to homeopathy. So, but this pharmacological approach is very important, where it acts like a charm in addressing the troublesome symptoms with immediate effect. If the child is very hyperactive, very aggressive, so then when there is less time, probably the parents would go for pharmacological approach, and it is very beneficial for the child that time. Limitations, it doesn't target the core features, it doesn't target and treat the cause. It is generic and not patient-centric, and it has a lot of side effects in the long run. So, sir, core symptoms like development of speech or catching up of milestones, all those things are not targeted with allopathic treatment or pharmacological approach. Hence, both can go complementary to each other. Avoidance of all foods. So dietary approach, this is another very important, but little bit of limitations are there in this also. So avoidance of all foods which overload the system with more toxin. So we go for GFCF diet. So it is based on the opioid excess hypothesis. So it includes fresh organic foods, filtered water, basic supplements in the diet. So helps. But it is very difficult to stick to this diet because the children are already picky eaters. It can cause a lot of malnutrition symptoms in these children. So then they develop some symptoms like cracks around the lips, or they get some rashes on the skin, or they are prone to more worms, or they don't gain weight properly. So these things are seen. So what we usually advise is that we ask the parents to stick to this diet for at least 3 months and then see if the child is showing any improvement with that. If the child is improving, then they can stick to this diet with addition of certain other nutritious foods in their diet. If there is no change, then the parents generally resume back the diet. So what are the limitations? Long-term compliance is difficult. Maintaining nutritional balance remains a challenge. And the root cause of gut leakage still remains untouched, right? So this is about the different approaches we have seen. So we have seen up till now what is the general approach, then what are the different approaches, what is the stand of homeopathy amongst all this, right? So next, I would like to go and, okay, what is the objective? Then when we so many of us are doing this integrated approach, but then what is the objective of treatment? So for all of us, the objective remains one and the same. That is, we have to enhance the adaptive behaviors like social skills, communicative skills, imaginative behavior. We have to reduce the problematic behaviors like self-harm and aggression. Treating any comorbid conditions, another important thing. When we see these kids, we have to rule out certain things like epilepsy. So it is a mandatory thing to get those tests done, like EEG is done, BERA is done. All these things are very important. So diagnosing those and treating those comorbid conditions. Okay. Next, improving the quality of life in all spheres of functioning. So finally, we are trying to rehabilitate the child into the mainstream society. So when we all of us are working together in this stream, this is our main goal. So this, again, after all this, I would like to speak about things from my practice, whatever I have seen at Lipid, whatever I have seen 1,000+ cases now. So from that, I would like to share a few helpful tips or my experiences and observations. So the most common NDDs which are benefited with homeopathy. So it is autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, ID, speech and language disorders very beautifully get impacted with homeopathic medicines. Like they now send the child to homeopathy only for speech. If you have a speech issue, communication issue, go for homeopathy. So that is what confidence others have developed in homeopathy now. Down syndrome, cerebral palsy. So these are the cases which have maximum impact with our medicines. So what are the different changes? So if we see the child is coming to us, we get the evaluation, primary evaluation done, we get the assessment scales, and then we start treatment. Then after 1 year again, we are going to reevaluate the child. So in this 1 year, we get some changes in the subjective symptoms, and when we reevaluate the child at the end of 1 year, we can see the objective changes also in the assessment skills. So subjectively, what we see that comprehension within first, second, third follow-up only, the parents will come and tell you that the comprehension is changing, the understanding levels have improved, concentration is better, milestones, if there is any delay in the milestones, that is also catching up. Speech development, first 3 months, the parents will say, yes, now he's trying to vocalize, making sounds. Behavior issues, they come down. Emotional regulation, that happens with homeopathic medicine. Sensory issues come down. Cognition and IQ levels are also changed. Comorbidities, we also have beautiful medicines with which we can bring down the other issues like sleep issues, digestion issues, epilepsy, poor immunity, etc. So these are the changes that I have seen, and I'm sure others, other senior practitioners and mentors in this group, they also have seen and experienced the same things as I have seen. Thank you, Rekha ma'am. So this is there. So moving ahead. So with this, I would like to touch upon a few cases, 2-3 cases I have taken, which are not of ASD, but I thought I would just, because as a part of neurodevelopmental disorder, I would touch these 2-3 cases, and tomorrow I would take some ASD cases also. So in this, if we see, the first case is of ID. So this is a case of intellectual disability where the child's, he is a 9-year-old male. The child was brought with complaints of poor memory, forgetfulness even for simplest things, poor understanding even of simple instructions. The speech was very unclear, very poor vocabulary, and absence of expressive speech. The child appeared very dull with a vacant look on his face and not responding to name call or surrounding stimuli. So he came to the OPD and he was already evaluated and diagnosed as intellectual deficit with speech issues. And then he stayed in a joint. So this child, when he came to the OPD, he was with his mother and he just sat in front of me. It was just like I was talking to the wall. So I would call him, no response. He was looking out of the window. So that was the level of, so he was not able to respond at all or absorb, take in anything that was happening in the surroundings. So his history, he stayed in a joint family with stressful environment in the family. He is a stubborn child who gets angry when he is forced to do something. Otherwise, he is mild, poor socialization. He has fear of strangers and of new people. His past history, he underwent tonsillectomy a few years back due to frequent colds and coughs with fevers. Family history, mother is a known case of hypothyroidism. Physical generals, he generally likes cold drinks, cold food, sweets. He's sensitive to hot weather and likes cold weather. So any guesses on what could be the approach, what could be the medicines used? Anybody would like to
Maybe
try?
Barretta group.
Beraita, ma'am. Yes. Any other drugs, ma'am, which we could use in this case?
Calcarea too. Some features.
Calcarea. Some symptoms point towards calcarea also. Yes. So let us see the follow-up in this case, ma'am. So before homeopathic treatment, the speech was incoherent. He could not understand clearly, which could not be understood clearly, and he would speak only a few 2-letter words. But after 1.5 years of homeopathic treatment, there was spontaneous expressive speech. He is able to frame sentences. The socialization, which was very poor before, now it has improved. He mingles with the family and plays with friends. Cognition, which was very poor before, Now it has improved. He is able to understand instructions. He is able to understand simple money transactions also. So he's able to go to the shop and buy something and get the balance amount also. Memory, which is very poor, which was very poor before, now it has improved. He is able to memorize, recognize alphabets, numbers. He is going to school. And if we look at the assessment values, at that time he was 9 years old. CEA's chronological age, which was 9. And now after the latest assessment time, he was 10.7. So developmental age was 6.8. So there was almost a gap of 3 years at that time. And now the developmental age is 9.4. The developmental quotient was 75, which has now improved to 88. Social age was 6.7. Now it is 9.8. Social quotient was 74, which has come up to 93. So this was possible only with homeopathic remedies. This child was from a rural background, so they were not having access to any therapies in this case. So this is purely with homeopathic medications. The child is still coming for the follow-ups, and this child now is like, in Telugu we say satire. So he is doing that kind of things with his parents also. So she was very happy seeing all these changes with homeopathy. So in this case, basically, I have given Beraita iode for this child, and he has improved wonderfully with this Beraita iode. Next one is a case of ADHD. So in this, he is a 5.2 years male. He was brought with complaints of poor attention span with a sitting tolerance of 5 minutes, poor concentration, poor eye contact, echolalia, inability to follow multiple instructions, behavioral issues like temper tantrums, aggressiveness, hitting behavior at school, passing stools only in diapers, and bedwetting. He is sensitive to cold weather and likes cold drinks and ice creams. All his milestones were normal except for speech. If we go into his past history, it says that at 9 months of age, the child had been separated from mother due to work and was with his grandparents. Same time, he was vaccinated, and shortly he developed high-grade fever with continuous loose motions, which was diagnosed as influenza. So mother has hypothyroidism, father has asthma, and paternal uncle and grandfather suffered with cancer. So if you see the family history, there is asthma, hypothyroidism, and cancer. So in this case, if we see, any guesses on the remedy, ma'am, in this?
Carcinosinum, I think so.
Carcinosin is one, yes.
Tuberculinum, maybe.
Tuberculinum, yes. So in this case, I have used a few more remedies also. I have given, initially I start, because I thought my thought process was this way. So initially I thought it could be because of the bad effects of vaccination. So before this child came to me, he was already put on lycopodium by some other homeopath, and he was taking lycopodium for 8 months, but there was no change with lycopodium in this child. So then when he came to me, I thought that first we need to rule out the block, which is because of the vaccination. Yes, Padmaja ma'am. So then I opened the case with 3 doses of Thuja 200, and then I gave Ethuza also in this case. Ethuza was because in Boric, if we see, it is written that gut in connection with the brain. So that was the reason why I also selected Ethuza, and he was gradually improving. So first after Thuja he improved, then Ethuza also he improved, little more betterment. Then I saw that he has more of repetitive behaviors, more of sensory issues, and speech was echolalia. So because of this, I thought of Calcarea Phos in this child, and then he was put on Calcarea Phos, which also helped him a lot. Then as intercurrents, I have used tuberculinum and carcinosin, both. So gradually, and stramonium was also used in this case when he came up with the symptoms of rubbing genitalia and all those things. So that has also helped him very much. So overall, the case has improved. Let us see the follow-up then. So I feel that first we have to take care of the blocks also. So whenever possible, if we have a strong family history or a strong past history, I try to first remove that block with the help of intercurrent and then follow it up with a constitutional or symptomatic approach. So in this child, if we see, the behavioral symptoms before he had aggression and head banging. Now it is aggression only when denied something. Head banging is not seen now. He used to have striking behavior of striking and hitting kids at school. Now it is not seen. There was restlessness, which is now only when if he is left idle. Repetitive behaviors were there, like hand flapping, rubbing genitals. Now it is very occasional, only when watching TV. Now currently also he is coming for follow-up. Now it is not there. Higher function, sitting tolerance, it was very poor at that time. Sitting tolerance, now he is able to sit at school for up to 6 hours and at therapy centers for 2 to 3 hours. Attention span, which was poor, has improved now. Comprehension, which he couldn't follow instructions. Now he's able to follow 3 to 4 instructions at a time. Bedwetting was there. Now it is not there. He used to pass tools only with that was the main problem for the parent, because how much so ever she was trying to toilet train him, it was not happening. Now he is able to attend the washroom by himself for stools. Echolalia was there. Whenever I used to try to ask something, he would only repeat the same question. But now he is able to answer aptly. Whatever you ask, he has a right answer. He will think, he will answer in the proper way. Eye contact was poor. Eye contact has improved. By large, everything is fine now. Sensitivity towards sounds was there. It is not there, not at all seen now. Textures was there. It's fine now. No issues at all. So if we see the evaluation at that time, the chronological age was 4.2 and the developmental age was 2.9. Social age was 2. There was a 2 years gap approximately. Developmental quotient was 66. Social, okay, this is SQ, 62. Mental age was 2.2. And he was diagnosed as ASD, ADHD with mild ID. So now if we see the report, he is 7.8 now. Mental age is 7.3. Okay. And ID which was there, now it says it is 0% intellectual impairment. So in this child, he was not taking any conventional treatment. He was on therapies along with, but therapies he was taking long before he started with homeopathic treatment. So both were going simultaneously for this child. So the final comment, what the school teachers say, he is much better than other kids in the class, no issues at all. Therapist said that we can stop the therapies as he doesn't need anything as such now. And according to parents also, he has improved much now. But recently, I would share this also. There's this child, when he started going to, we have a very famous school over here. So they are known for the rigid training for IIT and all those things. So they have a primary school. So this child, because his relative was there in that school, he was admitted into that school where he started facing problems, adaptation issues again. So, but the thing is that the old symptoms which are there, they never turned up. Adaptation issues were with respect to the teachers because the teachers were not accommodative. But in spite of having that stressful issue, and in between his mother is a nurse, even she went to other place, she was staying away from him for a couple of months. Even then, the child was adapted in a beautiful manner. He did not come up with any symptoms. So now he is on infrequent doses of tuberculinum and calcarea phos. That's all. Otherwise, we have removed all the medications now. So this is a homeopathy beautifully helps to, I think, for better adaptation to the environment also.
Ma'am, in this case, stramonium, after stramonium, these changes came?
Stramonium I have been giving, ma'am, generally with stramonium, my experience is that I generally frequently give it because two things, it will help with the speech issues, whatever are there. It by far helps us to cover a large amount of speech issues. And this second indication in this case was the rubbing of genitals. So when we see the repertory, excuse me, ma'am.
Okay, madam. I told okay only.
Okay,
Please
okay.
continue.
So these two things were there, ma'am. So because of which I started giving him stramonium, and I used to give him monthly doses for stramonium. So monthly 2 or 3 doses I would give. So finally, when all the symptoms were removed, like he improved on all those levels, I removed that medicine also.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am. Welcome. Shall I take, ma'am, or should we stop?
Ma'am, I would like to know the supplements that need to be given for ASD kids or autistic
In
kids.
this supplements, in the sense, ma'am, medication
Along
wise,
with the dietary changes, what other supplements do you give
So
specifically?
generally, ma'am, dietary changes is what we can advise. For supplements, I generally tell them to go to a pediatrician because I said it is a complete setup. So we have a pediatrician who's available for them. I usually ask them to start off with multivitamin and vitamin D and calcium syrups. These three basically we put them on at least for 3 months because they are generally by far 95% kids have deficiency symptoms, ma'am. So this acts as a supportive thing for them. And
Are there
one
any guidelines as far as giving supplements to such kids?
guidelines, if we want to go by guidelines, we would like to have a battery of tests done definitely because most of the parents they do not agree for the tests because the child does not cooperate. They go 2 times, 3 times, and they come back because the child is not cooperating. So then, rather than that, we say you start because most of them have some or the other deficiency symptoms, ma'am. So based on that, if are having those symptoms, definitely I would like to send them to a pediatrician. She will write the proper dosage and give it to them.
Okay.
That is how I do it over here, ma'am.
Ma'am, can you put it in the WhatsApp group as to the diet which you had recommended?
Yes.
If you could give us a detailed
I have
approach
put
as to
one,
how to bring.
I have put it in the group today, ma'am, just in the evening. That is
Okay.
what I suggest for all
Okay.
the patients, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Should I take this case or should we stop or how is it? It's
No,
already
Ma'am, how much time
9:45.
will it
Please
take?
continue.
I think it's come to an end. I think one case I have taken. So remaining thing maybe after the case, I have put the general approach and medicines which I have found on what symptoms on I have guided the selection of medicines. All those points I have taken. Maybe we can take that tomorrow, ma'am. Then. So I'll just take this one case now.
you take the case.
Okay,
I think
ma'am.
you can finish it. No issue. 5-10
Okay.
minutes. That's way okay.
Fine. Okay, ma'am. So this is a case. This is another beautiful case, ma'am. So this is a case of epilepsy, and a child of 9.5 years age was brought on 2nd of August 2023. She was a known case of epilepsy since the age of 1.6 years, and she was on allopathic treatment for the same. Her main concern was increasing debilitating weakness because of convulsions. So her mother came. She was never brought to the OPD. It was always her mother used to come and give the follow-up for the child. So she came in a very worried state that initially I used to take homeopathy, it was better, but now I've stopped homeopathy since long, and now she's only on allopathy and convulsions are increasing. So much so that the child was unable to stand on her own. She had convulsions 3 to 5 times daily, each episode lasting for more than half an hour. So you can imagine the plight of the child, with or without loss of consciousness, and followed by immense weakness. These episodes were also worse when she would play in cold water. Her speech was limited only to a few words, and general nature, she was a mild child, understanding was poor, inability to differentiate her family or strangers. She is not toilet trained. She is already on allopathic medicines for her epilepsy. She was born out of non consanguineous marriage. There was a strong family history of 3 deaths from cancer in her family. Her developmental milestones were normal except for speech. She had a past history of recurrent colds and fevers during 1.5 years of age for a span of 2 to 3 months, which were treated using nebulizers. Her MRI report showed a blood clot in the brain. Her EEG report was indicative of GSD. And the physical general, she loves hot, spicy, and non-veg food. She is a very picky eater and she cannot tolerate cold weather. So in this case, so initially she, as we have seen, the frequency was daily for 3 to 4 times. Now it has come down to once in 4 to 5 days. And throughout the day and night, now only during the night time, that too lasting only for 2 hours. 2 minutes, I'm sorry. And there is no weakness or anything as of now. It just comes and goes. Weakness which was profound. She was unable to sit or stand or walk. She would lie down constantly. Now she is able to walk, climb stairs, or play in the park by herself. Immunity, which was poor, frequent colds and coughs with fevers, needed to take nebulizers. Now it has improved. Few episodes of colds, coughs settled with homeopathic medicines. Now the frequency of colds has also come down. Understanding, which was poor, inability to recognize people, difficult potty training, doesn't indicate hunger. Now it is improved, recognizing people. Now she understands who are her family members and who are strangers. Doesn't allow strangers to touch her, indicates hunger, stool, urine. Speech, which was very limited, now it has improved, trying to call tata, amma, baba, etc. more frequently. So in this case, ma'am, actually, initially I was also little scared of taking up this case, because epilepsy cases are really, I feel, little risky only when we try to treat only with homeopathy. But as she had to try. So with all the picture of the convulsions, I thought that first we have to address the convulsions, because in this case, it is not advisable to directly go for an intercurrent or a constitutional treatment. So then I thought of first targeting the convulsions. So based on the totality, I started with Cuprum Met 30 for this child. And Cuprum Met 30 was continued. Along with it, I also gave her initially Zincum Met, not Zincum Met, Plumbum Met I gave. Plumbum Met in 6C potency. What is the indication of Plumbum Met means? If we see Borix repertory, Materia Medica, we see that in Plumbum Met it is given for sclerosis. We can understand from the pathology that there has been a blood clot already and it could have sclerosed. So that could also be one block. So I also tried to target that with Plumbamet 6C. Plumbamet was given, Cupramet 30 was started. And this child, I used to call her for follow-ups every week. So she was responding beautifully with Cupramet. I also gave some supportive medicines in homeopathy only. So then I kept her on Cupramet, initially BD for a week. Then gradually over a period of months, I made it to OD for a week. Then in between, she started getting frequent episodes of colds. And then I started giving her some acutes for cold management also. Then I got a doubt that why is she getting so frequently colds? Then the parent revealed that yes, in the past, I asked her, did she have any such thing before? Then she revealed, yes, in the past, from 1.5 year age old, she used to have frequent colds and we used to use a lot of nebulizers. That is when I got that history. So then this also beautifully portrays the Herring's law of cure, I think, in this case, probably, that as the discharges started getting established, I told her not to give anything for the child except for our homeopathic medicine at that stage. And then beautifully these colds, they used to not progress. She was there in that state for a couple of weeks, I would say. And then the cold started regressing slowly. And now she is asymptomatic, completely no colds, nothing. But that discharge is established and slowly the rate of convulsions also came down. So Plumbamet 6, I used to give it for 15 days OD, ma'am. So with this, slowly then, once the convulsions have come to standstill and they've settled down nicely, then I introduced the constitutional. I gave her Calcarea carb. With Calcarea carb, again, there was a lot of improvement seen with speech, stability, immunity, and balance. All those things were improving. So gradually she was kept on Calcarea carb. Now, so last month also she was there, but in between for 2 months, parent did not come because she said she is doing very well and she is fine. So I thought there is no need for medicine. But then again, the convulsions started increasing. Then she again got scared and came back. So this is what I think, this is a case where there are certain structural irreversible changes which are already there. So we cannot expect a total cure. So our medicines are acting as a palliative in this case. So probably we need to repeat the medicines at frequent intervals in such cases. But overall, this child is responding very well to homeopathic medicines. This is the case, ma'am.
Dr. Annapurna, one question in this case.
Yeah.
So when she regained back the epilepsy, so did you go with Calcarea carb or again with the Plumbamet or something?
Cupramet, ma'am. I did not give
And the
Calcarea
Cupramet.
now. Now I have put her on
Hmm.
Cupramet again. Yes.
Cupramet again, and that has completely taken care of that
Yes.
epilepsy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So then
Yes.
again,
Yes.
the process came, and again, she's on
Yes.
Cupramet. Then again, you give Calcarea carb, something like that, right?
Yes. Then again, I'll move on to constitutional. Yeah. Once she settles
Yeah.
with this.
So after constitutional, also she's getting epilepsy if she stops the constitutional, right?
That is what. That is what. So
Oh,
even our
okay.
constitutional has limitation in this case.
So that means
That's
since
what.
for how long she needs to take that constitutional remedy also, it's not known.
That is what, ma'am. Even I am also seeing, see how it
Hmm.
is progressing. She comes to that level, ma'am, like the frequency and the duration, everything has come down, minimum. So it is only for 2 minutes at night during sleep. But it is not that without a convulsion, her day has passed. She will get, but it is minimum.
Okay. Okay.
That is
So we
what,
need
ma'am.
to still go on in that case.
We will
for
need to
the-
repeat. Yeah, we need to repeat in this.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Bye.
Okay. And someone was asking about arnica. Actually, arnica can be given, but if it is in the initial stages only. We have seen this child now. The clot was diagnosed when she was 1.6 years old. And she is now, I think, 9 years old. So almost after a gap of 8 years. So that clot doesn't remain as a clot now. It gets sclerosed. So I think the action of arnica, we have passed that stage. So this is the case. This is very small case. I'll finish this off now. So case of developmental delay. So 1.6 years old child. So we have two centers. One block is for early intervention like 0 to 6 and the other block is for above 6 years. So this child was sent to me from that early intervention block where she was brought with complaints of delayed neck holding. She holds the neck but wobbles. Weakness of back, sits with support but the neck wobbles, right? Like a slight CP case along with developmental delay. Not CP, it is HI, sorry. She responds well to name call, toys, sounds, understanding is also good. She is a happy child, but whenever she gets angry, she bangs her head. She is not comfortable with strangers and she avoids going to them. The history revealed that the birth cry was delayed and she had neonatal sepsis with HIE grade 3. MRI brain shows HIE sequelae with microcephaly. So in this case also, any guesses on the remedies, ma'am? A small case. Okay, so in this case, I basically put her on directly based on delayed milestones because we need to catch up with that now. I directly started her with Calcarea carb, weekly doses, and Calcarea phos as a supportive, Calcarea phos and Silesia as a supportive medicine. So before homeopathic treatment, as we saw that the neck and back were weak, could not sit without support, neck holding is poor. Within 2 months, she improved. She was able to hold the neck, she could sit without support and walk without support. So they sent me a video wherein the child was able to catch that walker and she was trying to walk with support. So this is another beautiful case which I generally show it to all the people. Like we have different students who come to us from different backgrounds, like MPhil they are doing or from some other psychological courses. So for these cases, when I demonstrate to them, they are really overwhelmed and they are like, yes, we have to advise homeopathy for all our patients once we go back from here. So that is the level of confidence that these cases I feel they give us as practitioners, and the happiness, satisfaction which we get when the parents come to you with these positive results is immense. So that is what homeopathy is. I'll finish off here, ma'am. Tomorrow I'll continue this part, next part.
Oh, yeah. Fine, doctor. Yeah, such a nice, wonderful cases. And do you give any specific remedies for hypoxia during birth, something like that?
HI cases, ma'am.
Yeah.
Specifically, I don't give. As I told, I consider that as a distant injury. So which has happened number of years back. So if we try to do that now. I feel it is only sclerosis which is prominent as a pathology now. So in all such cases, I feel no other medicine could match apart from plumbum met, ma'am, in these cases.
Okay.
So I usually start with constitutional, intercurrent, and any specific symptomatic, but they usually respond. If the child is not responding, then I feel there is need for something else. Then I would go for plumbum met in a lower potency and frequent repetition.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good input for me.
Mm.
Actually, even I tried vanadium, thinking whether it will have some impact, but actually it didn't help in ASD cases. I mean, cerebral palsy and other cases. But vanadium has been helpful in other cases where there is lack of oxygen and even anemia and all. So
Mhm.
again, it is individualistic. Whatever you are telling is right. And any
Based on
idea about
pathology, I'm going for this, ma'am, because I don't think constitutional will act at that level.
that? Yes, yes. And about Cicuta, you had any results with Cicuta virosa, especially for high fevers or brain injury, head injury, other things?
Pardon, ma'am? Please come again, ma'am.
Cicuta virosa.
Cicuta virosa I have used for 1 or 2 cases of convulsions only, ma'am, from head injury. It has given good result, but not many cases I have
Not many cases. Yes, yes. Same.
seen, ma'am, with Cicuta. Not many cases. 1 or 2 I have seen, that's all.
Yes. And not very encouraging. Like, just
Mm.
like limited action, and then we have to go for other
Yes. Yes, that's all. So superficial, symptomatic only it will help.
I am
Doctor,
asking this because there will be a gap between the remedies mentioned in the repertories and the reality. So that's the
Yes,
confirmation.
exactly.
Yes, yes.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. It
Dr.
only
Alka.
comes with practice, ma'am. Because
Yes.
initially, when I got into this field, I thought it was
Uh,
so much of information and I don't know where to start from.
ta-
I got so many failures also because we went by whatever people used to say. We used to
correct.
just follow blindly,
Yes,
but
yes.
nothing helped actually.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah, Dr. Alka, you go ahead.
no. I have a doubt, Dr. Annapurna.
Yeah, ma'am. Please, ma'am.
So, is it necessary that there will be a pathology in all the autism cases, or what tests generally people these days they come after age also, after some
Hmm.
age like 10 years or something like that. So they
Hmm.
don't know
Hmm.
where to go, or they have gone through so many. So for those patients also, should we need to advise any tests for them? Are there any, like if that if we suspect cholesterol, we'll go for lipid profile, something like that.
Hmm.
Any
Hmm.
short
Hmm.
tests are there for autism, or is it mandatory for us to go for test for each and every patient?
So, ma'am, with this, if it is early intervention group, so it is between 0 to 6 years. So probably we would think of an EEG.
Hmm.
Second is a BERA test.
What is
Very
that?
important. BERA.
Mhm.
Bilateral ear. So it is
Oh,
related
okay.
to the hearing test. Yeah, so
Hmm.
that we can
Hmm.
do. Then
Hmm.
genetic karyotyping, if we feel that he has some phenotypic features of any syndrome, if we feel the child is
Hmm.
syndromic, then that we
Okay.
can do genetic karyotyping.
Okay.
And heavy metal toxicity is there, but we generally do not go for that, ma'am.
Mhm.
So basic thing is EEG, which is a must for all kids with autism. EEG and BERA, two things are a must.
Mhm. 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 The kid of any age, before
Any
6
age, any
years.
age. Yes.
And after 6 years?
EEG should be done, ma'am, definitely, because many of times
Hmm.
it is the EEG symptoms, like the symptoms of epilepsy, are not there.
Hmm.
So there is some worrying or something like that. They are not recognizable symptomatically, but still EEG is positive for GSD at that time.
Mhm. Okay. So
Abnormal.
recently I'm treating a case, autism online. So that the person is having only, they thought that it's only a speech defect in the beginning. He's just like all other kids and he is not able to speak. So, so they are trying, they live in a far remote village. So then they're trying, but in between what happened, his father suddenly died with an lorry accident. So this has been seen, and he since then that time. But exactly that is the reason they are not expecting, they are not telling, they are not feeling. But that time afterwards, he is not good. He is not good. His my Of course his milestones are very normal. He is a normal kid till 5 years of age or something like that. And after that, with this, they are been giving little steroids or something. 5 years age kid. Now he is only about 13 years kid, but he is looking like 30 years. 30. Okay. So his weight is 100 kgs now. He developed all secondary sexual characters, mistakes, everything. And if he beats his mother, means his mother will die, something like that. So, but his age is 13 years only. And just before the 3 years before, he is not like that. So that is one important point in that case. And some like that important points I have noted. So they did not do any tests till now, and any medicine also till now. But whatever medicine I give, so he will develop acne or what we call abscesses. Abscesses are there. So in the beginning, I said that okay, it's good sign only. You please wait, don't do anything like that. But now, mother is so serious that I can't help him with all that. I can't sleep. I am the only person to look after. So he is doing all cracky things like that, something like that. Then I thought that okay, I will see. I sent only placebo this time. Even with placebo, he had developed so many abscesses on the buttocks, on genitals, on eyelids, all at one time. So it could be overheat, something like that. I'm getting, and she is very good in tackling overheat or something that even with placebo. So I thought that maybe the child is having some or other fear or what that he is being some medication or something like that. Mother says that no, he is taking very good and I'm able to give all the pills. Only the pills she is giving, nothing, no syrups, nothing, no tablets, something like that. Only the pills. So I'm giving all the pills now. So he is instantly taking. No need to worry for me for taking the pills. But what could be the reason? Even with placebo, also he is getting all those things. And if we stop the placebo, then automatically they are going. Then how can we deduce this one?
What is the diagnosis, ma'am, in this case, first of all?
Nothing is there. They didn't do any tests. It is an autism only. This is an autism case only because he doesn't know now what is good or what is bad. He goes to the special school now, and each and every symptom of the autism is there in this kid now. So, but basically, it is not a primary autism, or he is much better till 5 years of age. Only thoda sa speech difficulty is there, and so he is not able to speak fastly like all the other kids. So they said that advised only to go for speech therapies and something. But after that, when his father died, and everything followed up, and after that he is having series of colds and coughs. So they have given some tonic, and mother also went into depression. She is also not taking care of him. So that's the point where he dropped from his regular this one. And after that steroid or something, one tonic, she says that, but she can't remember the name. He became that much of overweight in a span of 1 to 2 years. So she sent the old photos also. It is quite normal, like a small kid. And within 2 years, and he is like a robust personality. Robust, nothing like nothing less than robust. Just he is looking like a 30 years male with all the mistakes, with everything, with completely formed genitals and everything. But his mind is same, like a 2 years kid or 3 years kid, like that. So first, my important point is I could not continue the medication because of this acne and something. So even if I tell something for the abscesses, even if I suggest a parcel for something like that, also she says that okay, homeopathy, lene say, yeah, these are all coming, madam. What if that also causes many abscesses? I don't want to give. I want to stop. I want to stop. This is what is her problem first from the beginning. So I'm going on counseling her. What could be
Yeah.
her, madam?
I think, ma'am, first, yeah, ma'am. I think first we need to understand what all medications he has taken, and if possible, if we are able to measure the levels of that, so because maybe some kind of toxicity, remote toxicity caused because of those medicines, it could be the reason. We need to first evaluate and see, ma'am, before even we start and think of homeopathy.
But of late, he's not taking any medication since 2 years, since 2 or 3 years. No medication at all. Only if he gets a fever, they are giving paracetamol. That also very infrequently, like that. So they are depending only on the special school techniques and the counseling therapies, something like that. So he feels for her mother, or he immediately slaps her or hurts her. And if somebody says that you are hurting your mother, she is crying, means he comes to her and he consoles her and everything he does. That means he has some bit of compassion, but at the same time, acute anger spells. That is what they have come for first. Acute anger spells that he will be harming himself or harming others, like that. So he won't eat or he won't pass the stools, and after 2 or 3 days, it becomes havoc for them to, because he doesn't know how to keep pressure in the stool, something like that.
Ma'am, can I?
Yes, madam. Yeah, please, madam, please.
Yes. Ma'am, here 2, 3 things are there. First of all, his autism is maybe one reason, but just it is a regression type of autism, where he has achieved his normal milestones and he has regressed due to something. It could have been some high fever. If it is not there, it could be emotional cause what you have told, and I think that you have to consider that. We have little good results if we consider that point. Another thing
Stop.
is, another thing is, he has been given lots of steroids. I think that has adrenal has been compromised here, and you need to get him totally tested, especially for his uh, adrenal gland, whatever it is, cortisol and other things.
Cortisol levels and all.
Yeah, that and all. Better you advise to see a expert rather than we doing certain random tests. My thought is that you have to send him to a proper this thing from a
Okay,
this thing.
okay.
Yeah,
So
and then
since they
he
stay in
needs
a.
another psychological testing also. All the psychometric testing he needs, especially in
Mm.
NIMHANS and all. They will do all the tests and free of cost, and they are very good in. And I suggest the NIMHANS actually. That is the best thing they can get. But
Okay.
it depends on the situations of the mother as well. But if she needs her son to be at least manageable, she has to do all these things, ma'am. Or any other, even Hyderabad, if it is a good thing nearby, they can do that. But it should be a very big institute, not a smaller thing. And
Okay, they
after all
stay
these
close
things,
to Bangalore only, because they stay in
then
Kadapa
they can.
district. Kadapa is, I
Then
think,
they can.
put to with Bangalore.
NIMHANS you suggest. NIMHANS they will
Yeah.
do. Actually, even adrenal this thing also they can get tested in the that only. So they can get tested. After that, basing on each specific symptom, you can give remedies. Internal instead of internal thing, you can give on the external thing. Start with the skin root. That will reduce the aggravations, ma'am.
What,
I
ma'am?
have
What is
seen
that? Start with
external dosing.
what
Uh,
is
uh,
external?
you have to put 1 pill in 1 liter of water, one
Okay.
spoon on the skin on the hand,
Oh, okay.
and it will give the least aggravations, ma'am. Even smell
Oh.
also I have given some patients who are very
Oh.
hypersensitive, and especially I have seen so many cases. Aggravation is placebo, ma'am. I don't know. I haven't told anyone because they will laugh at me. Maybe I have not a habit of giving placebos to any of my patients. I will tell them today is a gap. I don't give because I have seen so many cases aggravated with placebos. So,
Okay.
so that is placebo for us, not for them. So I will suggest you can go for external route. You can dilute that dilution 3 times. That also will be helpful. And you go for millesimal potencies also. And then you start with the beginning point. That point you clear first.
So for that
Then,
only, I started the case with Ignatia, madam.
oh, okay. Then
So
maybe you have to go for next calcareous sulf or it is abscess. Is lots of abscess, so you can think of calcarea sulf maybe in that way. I'm only
Okay.
suggesting.
Okay. Yeah, because
or
he's also obese. And so first I
yes,
need to advise them to go for the enhance and all the tests done.
yes, ma'am. Yes,
And then from there, I need to start the case again, right?
yes, ma'am. And his
Mm.
sensitivity is high, so that means
Mm. We
maybe
need
he
to
will
give.
be far
Mm.
better than what usually expected. The
Okay,
age is
okay.
only a problem, ma'am. Age is like
Mm.
if you had been 5, 7, 8, 10, below 10, it would have been wonderful. But
Mm.
maybe 13 is little. But anyway,
Okay.
we'll see how much he will improve.
Yes,
Definitely,
yes,
ma'am,
yes.
they will have a very positive result.
Okay. With that external potencies, huh?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
And then
okay.
he will get sensitized to homeopathy, and then he will start taking internal also.
Okay. Well, before external, can we do millismal also? Or
Yes,
only
ma'am. Yes,
external is better?
external better, ma'am. Millesimal
Oh,
also, I
okay.
don't know. Like I haven't used much in autism
Mm.
cases because
Mm.
they're very
Okay.
susceptibility is very low, unlike in
Okay.
cancer cases.
Yeah. So I was worried with that case only these days. So, and one more important symptom is he will be rotating round and round and round and round like
Yeah, that is
that
a common symptom.
common
Yes,
symptom, right?
yes,
That means
ma'am.
he will be
Yeah, we don't have to give
moving.
much importance to that,
Oh,
but we
okay,
have to
okay,
consider it. All these
okay.
symptoms, whatever you told, he regret,
Hmm.
those things are also mostly common only, common
Common
to
only.
autistic kids.
Okay,
But that gives
okay,
one perspective also. Like they are
okay.
sensitive, sensible. Like
Okay.
yes,
Yeah, okay, madam. Thank you so much for the inputs. I'll
yes,
try in that case and I'll let you know.
yes, ma'am. You keep updated. Yes,
Ma'am, one
yes,
more
sir.
thing, can I say?
Yes, yes,
Yeah. So, ma'am, in this case, I think we can also antidote, begin the case with cortisone, also homeopathic cortisone. That also can be done. And one more thing I was thinking in such cases who are more than 12 years of age, so in those cases, I find that they generally come up with these things like they have acute episodes of aggression, which are really unmanageable. So at that time, uh, what I have found useful is that this is first thing is I feel miasmatically the fundamental miasm which is active over here is the tubercular miasm because of the background syphilitic background and the sensitivity which is sensoric sensitivity. So I generally give these cases a dose of TUB1M in the beginning and follow it up with something like if it is stereotypic behavior or what, depending on that, some remedy like I can go for calcarea phos or stramonium, which is a regular remedy. And whenever that child is getting an episode, acute episode, I have seen that medicines like stramonium, chamomilla, passiflora mother tincture have given wonderful result. Like they help to calm down the child immediately. So that is what happens. And stramonium, when given over frequent interval repetitions, so the child remains in that state for maybe a period of prolonged period, I would say. So whatever the frequency is there, it slowly comes down. They do get, but we are able to manage them very well with these medications, ma'am.
Yes, madam. So I have sent SOS as a stramonium also for them. But the
Mm.
problem is the thoda sa to they need to continue. Na? That is what is the main problem.
That is
Starting
the main issue.
management.
From their side, the
Management.
cooperation has to be there.
Yes. So I have counseled his mother also. Management is so much important. You are already doing so much, and please extend for a while. Something like that. I'm counseling her. So we need to see how far they will continue this one. So I'll get back on this case, with this one.
Sure,
Okay.
ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So we
Okay,
can
any
end here,
further
ma'am.
questions from the audience?
I think we can wind up. Tomorrow we'll take up other questions, right, Doctor Alka?
Okay, fine. Thank
Yes.
you, Dr. Annapurna, for the wonderful session. Yes, we are awaiting the next one tomorrow. Thank you, audience, for being with us. Good night. Bye bye for now. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Good night. Bye bye.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye bye.